Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey, private practice heroes. Thanks for tuning into the podcast today. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and we are going to continue with our lessons talking about Cornerstone content and Cornerstone blogs on your website. And today I'm going to share 10 proven ways, actual ways that you can market and promote those blogs to get even more traffic on your website. That added traffic that you can send to those blogs just boosts to the value of those posts in the eyes of the search engines. And when Google loves you, they will send even more people to your website to check you out. So this episode today is part 3 of the lessons I've been doing on Cornerstone content and blog posts in particular. They started in episode 93, where I shared why this type of blog, even if it is the only one you post on your website, is a must-have as part of your content marketing plans. Then in episode 95, I shared some ways that you can optimize those blog posts to get more traffic and leads. And now we're going to talk about the ways that you can boost the visibility of that Cornerstone blog post, because there are several strategies and tactics you can do on your website and in your marketing to get more people landing on that Cornerstone blog post and reading it. And this really does work for other regular blogs as well. The idea is here, you don't always have to wait for the search engines to find these blog posts. You can help that process along the way yourself. So if you haven't listened to those other 2 episodes, 93 and 95, I know I skipped one there, but that was because I had an awesome guest on doing a marketing review. So you can go back. I'll put a link to those 2 episodes on what are Cornerstone content blogs and also ways to optimize them on the show notes page, which you can find at marketingyourprivatepractice.com/96. Now today, though, we're going to talk about these different ways that you're going to increase the visibility and traffic on these posts. Because when you can do this, it helps those content pieces get the traction you're looking for. And you really can do these same strategies with regular blogs as well. There are just a couple of extra special things you want to do with the Cornerstone content pieces and Cornerstone blog posts that you put out there. And I did want to say before we kicked into this, I really feel that these are actual strategies that any business owner can do without taking hours and hours to make it happen. They are not strategies to go posting and doing all sorts of marketing of these content pieces in lots of different places that may not be of benefit to you. And the reason that I say this is because when I was doing my research on this episode and checking out what other people have to say and share in articles like this, well, can I just say for SEO reasons, I did not put the word actually in the title because it's not very SEO friendly and it's not a keyword and it's not useful when it comes to SEO and a title of a blog post. But the strategies I'm sharing today are actually ones that you can use and that will help you. Some of the ones that I found just had people, they had lists with like 56 ways or 49 or all sorts of different places. And a lot of them, sure, they would help, but no one really has the time, not a service-based business owner, not a practice owner. You're running your business. When we're talking about strategies here on my podcast, I'm talking about ones that you can do and put into your regular work and your regular marketing and not spend tons of time putting different things and doing different things in the marketing that really isn't going to help you as much as the key ones that you want to do. So that's what we're going to focus on here. But just Google simply would not be as nice to a title of a blog post that says 10 actual marketing strategies, or one that might say 10 proven marketing strategies practice and service-based business owners can actually use to boost their traffic on Cornerstone blogs. But that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. And I will remind you here, when you produce and create these Cornerstone blog posts, they're not ones that you're going to do every week. So number one, it's going to take you time to plan them out. And number two, it will take some time to get them working and showing up in your analytics as a top visited page on your website. Sometimes it can take months for these things to get traction. But the more that you can link to it and refer to it and do some marketing for these Cornerstone blogs, the faster that traction will happen. So here's the thing. As the CEO of your business and the one responsible for your marketing, if you've taken the time to create this ultimate content, this Cornerstone content for your website, it is information all your clients want and need to know. But you cannot then just sit back and wait for people to find it. You have to help the process. Life doesn't work that way, nor does marketing your practice or business work where you can just sit back and wait for people to find what you have out there. Yes, you've done what you can for SEO when you create these Cornerstone blog posts because you listen to my other 2 episodes, of course. But now you need to kickstart some of that traffic to this content yourself and take on some responsibility to do the marketing for these blog posts. And you've heard me say it before. Maybe you haven't. Maybe this is your first time. And I will warn you, I do have a major crush on Kevin Costner, so sometimes his name shows up into my marketing content as well. But I will repeat this over and over. Kevin Costner is truly the only person who can build it, and they will come. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check a reference for Field of Dreams, a movie that he was in. The rest of us, we have to be doing our own marketing and promotion of our websites and content to get people to come to it. We're just not as awesome as Kevin. Well, we all could be. We really are. I don't know. I digress. I got to move on here, or I'm just going to keep on crushing on Kevin here. So the idea is here. We need to do our part to get people to read those brilliant content pieces and those lessons we are sharing. So let's dive in and talk about these 10 proven marketing strategies that will help you boost traffic on your Cornerstone blog posts. And remember, this will work for regular blog posts too. So if you haven't got your Cornerstone one ready, know that once you get it up and running, I want you to come back here and follow these 10 steps. Now, before I dive into strategy number 1, this is a list of 10. I know me. I know how I talk. It might take me a little longer than I originally planned to get through it. So if that's the case, I'm definitely going to split this episode into 2 parts because no one wants to listen to me for that long. Plus, then you can work on the first 5, finish with the next 5 when the next part comes out. So be forewarned, as I start into this here, we might hear 10 today, we might hear 5. It depends on how long I talk. Either way, we're going to start off with number 1. The first strategy that you want to do is you want to add internal links on your website from other regular blog posts and pages. And you want those links to go to that Cornerstone content blog that you created. Now, I did hint at this and we talked a little about it in episode 95 on optimizing your blog posts. But the thing that I want to make sure that you understand is how to do it a little more effectively than just the mention that we talked about the other day. So when you're doing this, there's a couple ways that you can add these internal links. Sometimes you're going to put links to this Cornerstone piece from other blogs, and sometimes you're going to put links to it from other pages on your website. So when we look at doing internal links on other blog posts, what we're really trying to do is look at any other blogs that you might have on your website where that reference to the Cornerstone content blog that you have, or even other regular blogs, because it works for this too. You want to look at when does it make sense to tell people, hey, go back and read this article if you want some more information. That's what you want to be thinking about. So once you have that Cornerstone content piece up there, or when you're creating your other consistent blog posts that you're doing as part of your consistent content plan, then you want to look at what other blogs do I have that I could link to this one? Or maybe you're going to take the one you've just created and link to that Cornerstone piece. So you always want to be aware and thinking about what topics, what other articles have you written, what have you created that you could then send a link to for this. And when you're doing these internal links, it's really important to make those links keyword rich. So if you have a link where you say click here and the words click here are the link, that's okay in a newsletter where SEO isn't really as important, but on a blog or on your website, that link that says click here to read the article on 5 ways to optimize your Cornerstone blog posts for more traffic and leads, if that entire title of the post or the page you're referring them to, but in this case, we're doing internal links to these Cornerstone content pieces. So what you want to make sure is that entire title of the post is the entire link. That's what's called having some anchor text in the link. And what you want to do is make it keyword rich. The best way to do this is to use the title of the post. So when we were looking in episode 95 and 93 and talking about some ideas here, we talked about a couple samples of posts. What is intuitive eating was one. Another sample we used was 12 easy steps to package your services for a profit. So if you're on your website and you're looking at making some internal links here, and maybe that what is intuitive eating is a Cornerstone piece for you, when you mention it, when you put these internal links from the other places, other blog posts, wherever it is, going to your Cornerstone one, the words what is intuitive eating should be the entire link. Okay. If I'm going to do a article and have a content piece that I'm going to refer to a Cornerstone blog that's all about 12 easy steps to package your services for a profit, the link that I use in the other spot to go to that Cornerstone piece or to any regular blog needs to be the entire title. So this may mean sometimes you have to reword some of the words that you might use to reference people to read something else. So instead of saying, click here to get more information on this topic, you would want to say, click here, or you can even say, you can read our article, comma, put in the title of the article and make that the link and just say to get more information. And then that is your clickable link. So these internal links, you want to look for where you can use them and be referring people to your Cornerstone pieces to get them to get more detailed information. And you want to make sure that those links, those internal links, are keyword rich with good anchor text in the link. My practice is basically just use the title of the blog post as long as you already optimized it for SEO. So that's where you want to go in with links from other blog posts. Now, we also talked about having internal links from other relevant pages. So your homepage is one place where you need to think about how can you effectively put a link to your Cornerstone blog post on your homepage. Those Cornerstone pieces, the really high value top ones that you have, this is your number one content. It's the top content you have. You took the time, you created a more in-depth article. It's like an A to Z of information. It's information every client wants to know. It's information people should know, should read about. So you need to refer to it. So if you have a way that you can insert a call to action on your homepage that takes people to that Cornerstone piece to get more detailed information, you want to include a link from the homepage to that post as well. And again, follow the keyword-rich anchor text for the link. So just make it somehow a CTA that flows really easy to tell people you can get more detailed information on this if you're not sure what it is in this article, comma, blah, 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 and whatever your title is of your Cornerstone piece. Sometimes you'll also find an option to refer to that on your services page when you talk about different things. So if you're looking at the intuitive eating example where you talk about working with people to, help them stop dieting and stop, going on the diet after diet and fad diets, that type of thing, and that you use some of the principles of intuitive eating behind your training and your coaching and your counseling that you do with clients, that's where you could also have a call to action that says, If you're not quite sure what this means, you can click here and read this article, what is intuitive eating, and have that be the link to your Cornerstone piece. So there's lots of different ways here. Step number 1 in this, and strategy number 1 as part of this is marketing that Cornerstone blog content that you have, is to make sure that you're always looking at opportunities to have internal links within your website that send people to that article to read it. So this also means as you create new regular content, regular blog posts, there's often times that you might find yourself needing to refer to that Cornerstone piece. So it's not just looking back today on what you could put a link to that new article when you're just posting it up for the first time. It's also in the future, what ways can you make sure that you're taking anything new you create and refer it back to that Cornerstone piece as well. I kind of like to have some CTAs saved for the Cornerstone content. So that's something that will help you create those internal links. Big thing is here, always look for ways to be linking within your website to those Cornerstone blog posts. And you can do it as well for regular ones. So if you haven't figured out here yet, when you hear me telling you on my podcast or telling you that you'll find links on my show notes page to other references, that's another way that I'm giving internal links. I typically make them the title of the post or the page that I'm sending people to and putting them into these new pieces that go on my website. So when you come to a show notes page, there's always some resources there. Those resources have internal links going to other posts. So it's not a strategy just for Cornerstone content. It is for regular content and regular updates that you put on your website too. Internal links are really key. We've talked about it before in some of these other 2 episodes on Cornerstone blogs and optimizing them about how they are very helpful in keeping people on your website longer. That's what these internal links do. Someone comes to your website, they start reading something, they want more information. You've given them a link and a resource to get more. They go onto that other page, they stay there longer. It is all behavior those search engines love. So the more you can do this, the better off you will be. Now, the second strategy on how you can get more traffic to these Cornerstone blog posts is looking at how you can add it into an FAQ page. So when you are putting your website together, a lot of people will often start building an FAQ page because people start asking you these common questions. So why not put a resource out there to an FAQ page where you can answer some of those common questions? The FAQ page actually becomes a page that you can often refer people to as well. Services page, it's a good spot there. Sales page, anything that you have. And so when you have this FAQ page, one of the things that you may want to include, if we go back to that example for the dietitian who does the intuitive eating, helping people get off diets and that type of service. So if we look at the FAQ page, one of the FAQs that someone could have there would be, what is intuitive eating and why do you keep talking about it? You could have a little blurb on the FAQ and just say a very basic overview. And then you could have a link, for more detailed information on this and our principles behind this practice that we do. Click here to read, what is intuitive eating? And make that word the title, your link to that Cornerstone piece. So there's ways that you can definitely include those links to Cornerstone content in an FAQ page. The third strategy that you can do within your website is to include a link to one of the top. So if you have a couple Cornerstone pieces, you really need to think about what is the number one Cornerstone content that you have out there. And on that one, you want to include a link to it in your website navigation menu. So there are many times over the years, I have helped clients put these pieces together. And then what they've done is we've put it right into the menu on their website. Depending on what the question was, what the Cornerstone content title was, would decide and help us make that decision of what place on the navigation menu would we include it. But for instance, going back to our dietitian business here, The what is intuitive eating is often one we would put if they had a resources page. We would make a sub page, so a drop down in the menu there that would say, what is intuitive eating? And that would take them right to that particular post that we have on the website. When you do something like this, you're just making it easier for people who are exploring your website, who are visiting your site, who are checking you out, who are looking at different places on there, to have something very visible that could be answering a question that they have. And so the reason we talked about putting it on the homepage and having a link to it there, we're also talking now about the website navigation menu. The same principle is behind it here. We want to give anyone exploring our site an opportunity to learn more, stay on the website longer, and dive into more about what we offer by sending them to that Cornerstone content piece. So if you have it there and it makes real good sense to showcase it to people, I mean, if you have it in your FAQ page, if you have it mentioned on your services in your homepage, it is probably going to fit as a button in your navigation menu. So you want to add and include a link to it there. If you have a really long title for this, then that may be something you need to look at shortening the title so that it's not a big, huge, long one in the navigation menu, and that people understand what it is and still would make sense to them to click it and move there. So often I will tell people this would be something that we typically put maybe under the resources page. Depending on the fit of it, it might go under the services page. It really is dependent on how the website is set up. But to give you an example, on a resources page, if you can have a main landing page that is all your free resources. So I have one on my website. If you want to go check that out, you just go to pepperatmarketing.com. There's a resources page. When you click that, you'll see up at the top, free resources I have for people. And then underneath, I have some recommended tips and tools. So different software programs that I recommend, things like that. Those down there, I'll be honest, are affiliate links to some of those things. But they're resources. I believe in them. I share them. And that's why I do it. But on this resources page, if you have a good content piece, like these Cornerstone content blog posts that we're talking about, that could also be something you talk about on the resources page. So you have it in the navigation menu, but you could also put an image of it, make something in Canva, have it set up there. What is intuitive eating? Learn what is intuitive eating here. And then when they click it, they come to that post that you have as well. So putting it in the website navigation menu is great. If you can add it to your extra free resources too, that is awesome as well. And that will just help you keep it more visible to people. So as they're exploring your website and checking things out, they can find it as well. Now, number 4 and 5 in this list of strategies to help you get more traffic and boost your traffic on your Cornerstone blog pieces, they're actually part of your consistent content plan. And I talk about this in episode 28 of the podcast, the different ways a consistent content plan can help you grow your practice or business. So when I'm talking about strategies 4 and 5 here, we're really talking about parts and pieces of your consistent marketing. Hopefully you're doing that if you've been listening to me. But these are pieces that you'll probably not realize that you could be adding links to these Cornerstone pieces in and talking about your Cornerstone blog posts as part of number 4 and 5, these different strategies. So number 4 is when you're doing your email marketing and putting out newsletters. So again, that's a key part of your consistent content plan, is having an email that goes out and collecting email addresses and sending out a newsletter with tips and information. Even if you're someone who doesn't believe in newsletters, I'm telling you right now, they work, they help, they're more effective than most marketing. People just think they're annoying, but when you create good content in them, they're not annoying and people look forward to reading them. And that's what I try to teach everybody who is in my programs. So the thing with marketing your Cornerstone blog posts, this is something you can refer to in your emails and newsletters. So maybe the first time you put it out, it might become the whole newsletter. Now, Cornerstone posts are really long, so it may be something that you talk about and then you send people to the Cornerstone piece once you publish it for the first time. But any other time that you're putting content out that's relevant to that article, it could become a PS in your newsletter. PS, if you aren't quite sure what I'm talking about here when we talk about intuitive eating, you can definitely click here and read this article on my website, what is intuitive eating, and have a link to it. So there's lots of different ways that you can definitely refer to those Cornerstone blog posts in your emails and newsletters. And in the newsletter in particular, it could be something if you do a roundup of some of your top posts. It could be sometimes, depending on the topic, where you make a reference point to it. But there's always different opportunities for you to refer to that Cornerstone content piece by having a link to it where people can dive into it and get more detailed information on a topic. And relevancy is important here. If your newsletter article is about a topic that has nothing to do with that Cornerstone piece, don't refer to it. Okay. So it's not something you're going to necessarily do every time you send a newsletter. It has to fit. It has to flow. It has to make sense. So always think about that. That's your strategy number 4 to marketing that Cornerstone blog post, is to refer to it and link to it in your emails and newsletters. Number 5 is another part of that consistent content plan. So you've probably heard me talk before about creating, as part of your content plan, blog promotional posts for social media. This is one of the 6 types of content that we talk about creating in your consistent content plan. And again, I'll put a link to that episode 28 so you can get more information on that if you're not sure what we're talking about here. But ideally, what a blog promotional post is for social media, it's when you create a short 1 sentence, maybe 2 posts for social media that basically is all about enticing people to click a link and read more by getting onto that blog post and reading the content you've put there. The first time you create your Cornerstone content, you're going to create this for the first time. This is one of those pieces of content that can become evergreen content, and it should be in the case of Cornerstone content pieces. You should have a regular supply of promotional posts for social media that send people to read that article you have, that consistent Cornerstone content piece. And again, this is something, if you're doing regular blogging, this should be part of what you're doing as part of your consistent plan as well. Because if you've taken the time to put a blog, any blog, regular or Cornerstone, on your website, you need to consistently send people to it to read it. So as evergreen content, that's the kind of content that never expires. It's content you can reuse over and over. It's the kind of content I teach people, create like 15 or 20 posts. If you have 15 or 20 posts and you want to mention that blog post once every week or once every 2 weeks on social media, you have enough for 4 or 5 months. You can then repeat it again in a cycle. And there's lots of different tools out there that can help you put this kind of content into the scheduling system and just reuse it on a regular basis. It'll take a little time to set up at the beginning, but it is critical in becoming a way that you're consistently marketing that content out there and sending people to read those Cornerstone pieces. And as long as the blog, if it's a regular blog, is still relevant, it's not dated or has anything specific in it that expires, you can do the same thing for those regular blog posts too. Cornerstone content is one that typically never has an expiry date. So that is a key part of doing this as well. And that takes us to the first 5 of the 10 strategies to help you get more traffic to those Cornerstone blog posts. And as I said earlier, I figured this would be a little much to go through everything today. So we are going to do a part 2. So you'll be able to stay tuned for that, where I cover the next 5 of those 10 ways that you can be marketing your Cornerstone blog posts and your regular ones to get more traffic. So as a recap here, the first 5 that we're talking about are adding internal links on your website from other blog posts and within pages, including your homepage. Don't forget that one. You can add links to it in your FAQ page. You can include a link in your website navigation menu. You should be referring to it when it's relevant to in your emails and newsletters, and make sure that you're creating promotional posts for social media. Doesn't matter what social media channel you're using. You want to make sure that you're putting some of this content out there. You just swap it out a little bit. In Instagram, if you're going to mention it, you'll say, click the link in my bio for this. And you could use one of your 5 links in your Instagram bio that goes specifically to the Cornerstone piece. Okay. I have a podcast on how you can effectively use the 5 links that you have. And if that's a surprise to you now, you definitely want to listen to this one. But I will put a link to that in the show notes too, because there's some really good ways you can effectively use those 5 links. And that's your 5th one there. Next time on the podcast, we'll get into the last 5 of these 10 ways to help you get more traffic to those Cornerstone pieces and get them working better and helping support what you've already done to help Google find this content and information on your website. The idea is here, you've got to be the person that helps some of the marketing of these Cornerstone pieces, because Cornerstone blogs or regular blogs, you've put them together. You've put them on your website. You've got them here. Now you've got to make sure that people come and visit them on a regular basis. And that's what I wanted to share with you today in this first part of how you can start marketing and putting some strategies into place to get more traffic on those Cornerstone blogs and get them working for you, because you optimize them the way I talked about in episode 95. And you've put them together to help you get more leads, which will lead to more clients. And so that's it for today's first part here. This is Kathy Colaiacovo signing off, saying thanks for tuning in today. And remember, to thrive in practice or business means taking the time to plan some of that high-level Cornerstone blog content for your website, and then ensuring you include marketing those posts as part of your content plans. It's the only way you're going to get more traffic and more ROI from the time you put into them. Be sure to stay tuned for part 2 and get the other 5 steps in these 10 strategies. And that'll be coming out on the next episode. And I will see you next time. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.